our whole thought process behind it is not to be gimmicky. Like we're pushing, where's a return on investment for a business? If they're going to actually invest in augmented reality, where's the return on investment?
All right, welcome to the Aussie Ambitions podcast. We've got a guest today on the topic of augmented reality, and it's founder and managing director of Austech Connect. How are you, Ken?
Very good, Scott. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So this is an exciting episode where we actually have devices plugged in and potentially might get into a bit of a demo. But welcome to chat a little bit about what you're working on and just to get a feel for what's happening here on the Gold Coast. So could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I'll start off with Austech Connect and how we come about. We started off as Austech VR nearly 5 years ago, and that started as a business that sold cardboard VR headsets around Australia. So that our customers were marketing companies, videographers, etc., a lot of schools as well. And we were Australia's leading cardboard headset manufacturer for a number of years. And then COVID hit. And just before COVID, we'd actually started moving into some virtual reality development with some cool experiences for the likes of Daily Mail, etc. And then once COVID hit and our logistical supply chain become, we couldn't rely on that from China in the middle of Chinese New Year, which is the start of Feb. We decided to blow the business up and start again. And that's what we did. We didn't know what was going to happen around the world, and we didn't know that we were going to go into lockdown or anything like that here in Australia. It was just all worked out well for us, thankfully. So I'll talk a bit more about Austech Connect and how we've sort of come about. So March last year, we started working really hard on promoting virtual reality to companies, particularly within the training realm here in Australia, and particularly the Gold Coast. And we're getting some traction there. But then the lockdown happened, and that just all fell apart. No one wanted to touch VR. No one wanted to put a headset on their face, biohazards and all that sort of stuff. So we started working towards augmented reality, which we'd done a bit of, and we'd had a few demos. We'd been speaking with the City of Gold Coast about a couple of opportunities there as well. The thing with augmented reality, though, is that we decided that it was probably best to go down the path of an appless solution. So we're focusing on providing complex, engaging, beautiful experiences within a phone's browser, because no one wants to download an app.
Right.
To view a company's augmented reality experience, which may be used to sell to them or promote their products. So we decided that straight away we didn't want to do anything with the apps. We wanted it all to be frictionless, and launched from a QR code, which thankfully everyone understands what QR codes are.
Wow.
So that sort of helped us out. From there, we started working hard towards web AR and that sort of tech stack. Grew the team dramatically over 2020, and we're still building now, all local Gold Coast talent. And the team's really important. And we've sort of got to the point where we've built out a couple of products. We just rebranded a week ago, officially from Austech VR to Austech Connect, and which the important part of the rebrand for us is it represents who we are now and also represents where we're going in the future. And that's a long way into the future, not just 2 years. And how do we know what's going to happen in the future? We don't. And that's the whole point. We moved away from Austech VR, where we're talking about virtual reality, and we wanted to be tech agnostic.
Yeah.
So we might be working really heavily with AR right now, augmented reality, but in 2 years' time, it may be something else. It may be another tech stack. It may be some other solutions. So we didn't want to wed ourselves into another technology. And really, the whole idea about Austech Connect is, the focus is on connecting people at scale and using technology to hasten that connection.
Right. So this is a very interesting topic in that a lot of people would consider this quite futuristic still.
Yep.
And although there's been versions of it evolving over time, where do you think we are right now with consumers I guess, experiencing it on a daily basis? Are they able to see it from some of the big brands that are out there, or is it not yet there?
So there's a few different layers to this. I think you're right. It is futuristic, but it's now as well. So our experiences can be accessed on 3 billion mobile devices around the world right now. So that's the first thing. Anyone with a mobile phone, essentially iPhone 7 Plus or even 6S, and over that can access our experiences. You've got a few different layers there as well. You've got social AR, which is happening. So Snapchats, your Instagram and Facebook cameras as well, which are starting to push on. And it has been gimmicky up until now. And our whole thought process behind it is not to be gimmicky. Like we're pushing, where's a return on investment for a business? If they're going to actually invest in augmented reality, where's the return on investment? And how can they see results? So that's how we push it, and we've had some success with that, and we've actually had some of our experiences do really well in the wild with some decent products. So it is futuristic. It's at the very start, I think, now. So like I think from 2020 and on, it's just going to grow, and I think we're going to move into away from phones eventually in the next few years and go towards glasses that everyone will be wearing.
Okay.
I'm not sure how far that is ahead, if that's 2 years, maybe a bit longer. But Facebook and both Apple are now competing with the AR glass market. And once they both release at the same time, similar time, we'll find that,
Okay, this is going to be
pretty cool.
This is going to be good. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be a bit of a fanboy on this because it's just something I've looked at. It's like the potential and what could be that gets people locked into adopting, right?
Yeah.
And, I'm just thinking about, my past background was working with clients in the healthcare space, and it's often something that's difficult to demonstrate if you're talking about optometry and vision, and how can you explain to someone that their vision needs some correction in certain fields, or you can see more, like in a more optimal way. Maybe it reduces glare on the water out on the boat and that kind of thing. So there's some kind of visual enhancements as a teaching tool. Do you think the frontier for AR is more like sales and experience, or is it more on the training? Where do we fit in between both of those?
For me, I really enjoy the sales aspect, which comes in, under the banner of connecting. So anything that's got to do with connecting people is something that we want to work with. Educating is also a part of that. And we are doing a little bit of work, which I can talk on a little bit later, with educators and solutions around that. But look, I think sales is a really, really big opportunity. So the situation we've got at the moment within marketing, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, because of your background, is that we've got black holes on people's websites. You go to a website for a product, and all of a sudden you get lost, and you don't know what that company wants you to do on the website. So, one of our products is called Brand AR, and the idea about Brand AR is that every call to action you want your customer to take around that product, we present in a really engaging, fun way, which is really easy to get to. So, for example, with Body Science, we promoted a product called Shred, Hydroxy Shred. Body Science had 19 articles, 3 podcasts. They had competitions to win a year's worth of Shred, and a lot of other videos and stuff to share. But because I had so much content, it was taking people a long time to actually figure out what the product was about. So we built an experience for Body Science, which had everything sitting there at the touch of a finger for their clients. So they were able to walk into a nutrition warehouse, pick up a jar, not need to speak to the 2 people at the store if they were busy, scan a QR code and learn everything they need to learn about Shred, and then walk out and say, look, we want to buy this, and buy it. So it was a really good sales conversion tool, but also an education tool. And that's where we want to be. So we want to be able to present the best call to actions for any business, product or service in a really engaging front way. And that sits in front of the website, and it sits in front of socials. Okay.
Got it.
So it's like an arrowhead to your marketing.
Yeah, I mean, that absolutely is, whets the appetite for marketers out there to have another tool that essentially is authentic and interactive, and, essentially it's an enhanced experience, basically. As long as it's not taking away from the simplicity of it. Sometimes, as you know, people have short attention spans these days, and it'll be interesting to see where that fall off point is in terms of the novelty of, I can explore this whole virtual aspect, or sometimes it's just like in marketing messages, sometimes you almost need like one main headline, and then so it really depends on how far along the sales funnel they are, supposedly.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, if you've got a product in store, talking about along the sales pipeline, it may be, so everyone's got their avatars that they're marketing to. It may be that you're actually picking up different people, people that you don't expect to be picking up your product or picking up your product. So Hydroxy Shred may be aimed at the athlete, but what about the person that's 40 years of age and works and wants to lose a few kilograms and wants a nootropic that makes them feel better and operate better at work at the same time? So if you're not marketing to them people, but all of a sudden you're seeing an influx of them type of people buying your product, this type of marketing is actually showing you that new demographic which you can market to as well. So, it's quite interesting in that realm. So you're not necessarily always marketing to people, but people, anyone can pick up your product, and you can sort of track that and see what they're doing.
Yeah, very cool. In just becoming familiar with all the different experience factors of what's available. Again, you mentioned the COVID time, and there was a lot of clients that we had that were doing or that were getting thrown into the world of virtual trade shows. They pre-booked all this money to do a real exhibition, a real trade show, and that was part of their basic marketing activity. It's difficult to generate sales if you can't get out and get the word out. But then they had to quickly adapt and then learn these virtual trade show booths and so on. You said it was an interesting year for you guys during the COVID time. Was that part of it? In that, that booth experience?
Was, yeah. Good friend of ours, of mine and the business as well, is RDK Sports here on the Gold Coast, and they were set to run their second Gold Coast Elite Sports Conference last year, and obviously COVID hit, so they had to delay. And we worked with Ryan and his team to build out a virtual conference. So we built the virtual conference. We hosted the virtual conference, and it was a beautiful experience. I can actually show you a part of it here if we switch over. Just bear with me. We're right to go.
Yeah, nice.
So this is a conference hall that we built for this conference. It's completely 3D. It was fantastic. So this conference, we're aiming for 500 people, but we ended up getting 1,100 people from 26 countries worldwide, all high-level sports, in the business of sports. A lot of people from the US, UK, obviously Australia, but it was a fantastic event, and we'll be going again next year, and the target will be a lot more people. Now, off the back of that, we noticed that we couldn't actually provide a platform for exhibitors. So generally with virtual conferencing, sorry, I'm going around a long way here, but with virtual conferencing, if you're an exhibitor, you'll get a page with a text blurb and a video, and that's it. So we thought there has to be a better way. So some of the booths that we made for this conference, we brought out and created a virtual booth where businesses can go in, and I'll put it on camera here actually and show you. So you can go in, watch video. Navigate around. I can't actually go back, but so we can navigate around the booth. We can go into 3D models. We can download capability statements, brochures, etc., etc. Just bear with me. Now we're standing in Metricon Stadium. So this is a really good way for businesses that would spend a bit of money generally on going to virtual conferences and events in the future. Having a foot in both sides of the equation. So if they're going to spend $50,000 on attending a physical event, we all know that events going to be hybrid forevermore. People aren't going to always want to travel. I might not want to fly to Sydney this weekend for an event, so hey, I'll join virtually. Well, these businesses now have an opportunity to build their own space out in 3D that people can interact with and get all the information that they would get from that location, attending the event physically. So that's another product that we sort of built on the back end of that, along with our virtual conferences.
Yeah, nice. I mean, you mentioned opportunity, and I think that's something hopefully people can appreciate that, there's, like you said, this is probably this long-lasting impact of just people's habits and behaviors and how they want to be doing things these days. But like there's two sides of it. Now they're probably up to speed with how to do a Zoom call or how to do QR codes, like you said, whether it's scanning in for health check reasons or whatnot. So it's almost like this big reset. And
so the way we connect is different, isn't it? It can be digitally, it can be a lot of many ways, and people are really comfortable doing that now, whereas previously we'd want to meet. We still want to meet, but it's just different. We don't need to travel. We don't need to travel to get on and get by anymore.
Okay.
I didn't understand that.
Oh, classic. We've got the old voice activation. This is the AI, the future. We're going to have many episodes hopefully on, and feel free to pass some guests our way in terms of experts in this area. But look, it's fascinating that I was actually surprised that this was sort of a homegrown, and you've got your home team here.
Yep.
Could you just touch base on the ambition side of things and how things came to be? What was the formation of the company? Like you said, there was a certain aspect where you started, but did you have the skills that naturally led to that, or it was more of a curiosity that got you into the space?
Well, it was an accident at the start. So I was a system administrator prior to that, and I wanted to get into business. This is a long time ago now. And my first business, I did start up whilst I was working as a sysadmin for a large company here on the Gold Coast that serviced the Asia Pacific region. And that business ended up being a pop culture business. So it was called Bam Kapow. And we used to go to all the Oz Comic Cons and Supernovas and all that sort of stuff, sell online. We had a store at the markets over at Helensvale there, what were they called?
The
Night Quarter. The Night Quarter, yeah. So we were there for 6 months until they sort of dropped off a little bit. But we were a reasonably big store in Australia. We used to sell worldwide. So it was pop vinyls, action figures, all that sort of stuff. And that's where I sort of cut my teeth on marketing and learned about advertising and, Google AdWords, Google Shopping, all that sort of stuff. So it was a really good experience to get to do that. And then the collectors started selling their products at a really non-favourable rate to retailers. So it started making the market really hard to sell to, particularly online. So I brought in some cardboard headsets. I got 300 made up at a factory, and then the Westpac Bank rang me and said, we want 100 of them headsets. And I went, oh, okay, wow. So there was that happened. And the next day I thought of the name Austech VR, started building the website, and that's where it started. I had to wait 3 months because I still had an Oz Comic Con I had to do. So once we finished Oz Comic Con, 3 months after that, I switched off that advertising and started advertising for Austech VR, and that's how the transition happened, because I was interested in VR anyway, and this is a really good entry level way for people to try VR at that point. This is back in 2015. And that's how it started. It was just really by accident. I saw the opportunity of selling many to one, instead of selling one to one, which I was doing with the B2C type of situation. So B2B really appealed. And that's where it grew out of. And, from there, because of my technical background, we were able to sort of push ahead with that and then ultimately build our team out, which has been really important in this last 12 months.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, hearing you say 2015, I mean, that seems to me not that long ago. And so in a certain time, there was, again, consumer awareness for some aspects. Like I think Google had their cardboard.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was.
Similar. So
and we'd brand it. So we'd skin it and put all sorts of creative all over the headset, and it was pretty cool.
Okay. So just describe that for people that aren't that familiar. You're essentially inserting the phone
into the front of a cardboard headset. You've got two lenses, normally 37 millimeters wide, no IPD, so you can't move it in or out. It can be quite blurry, and you're relying on 360 video to promote your content. So marketing companies would create 360 video for their clients to sort of give people an indication of taking them to another location, teleporting them to another location. And the headset was a really cool way to hand out at events. So, it could cost $5-10 depending on how many you bought, for the business that was buying them, and they just hand them out at events to sort of get their branding out there. And then someone would take it home and share it with their friends and kids. And obviously it was a really good brand attraction type of situation. So, but it's a bit gimmicky as well.
Sure. Yeah. I remember being one of those marketing managers that was like, oh, we got to get some cardboard headsets. And, then you're just trying to scramble to tie it into your message and hoping that there's a software app that you could kind of hack or brand or some way. Did you feel like the software piece was happening? Like did brands actually, like you got them the headset, but then were they having to scramble to get an app together? Yeah,
look, I think most of them, either included the 360 video into their apps or just relied on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, so YouTube 360. Upload it and throw it up. Yeah. And it'd either be unlisted or whatever it was. But YouTube was a really quick way of doing it.
Okay.
And also BIM, architects with their BIM models would use it too. So they'd sometimes show people through buildings that hadn't been made, for example, and you could sort of move around or click the button to sort of go to the next spot, like a virtual tour of something that hadn't been made. And that was a use case for it as well. But we, as soon as COVID happened, we just decided to cut it. We didn't see the future there at all. I didn't see the future there at all, so I decided to cut it and as I said, blew the business up and started again, which is pretty bold at that point. So,
love that.
Yeah.
I mean, and tons of good learnings there for people to not feel like they're tied to a concept. I mean, even if it's your concept, it's your baby, you got to live your life. You got to look at pivoting and evolving. Was there some spark, or was it an external factor? Did you have partners in the business that came to you and said, look, let's have a meeting on all this? Or
no, I guess, like my mother died at the start of 2020, day 2, so the 2nd of January. And that's when I sort of went, oh, geez, let's change it up and have a good crack. I think it takes something like that sometimes to say, well, how long do you have?
Right.
Let's just get cracking. So that was already sort of brewing by the time COVID sort of happened with China and sort of stopped things operating properly over there. And then that's the catalyst was that, I guess. That really helped, and just pull the plug on it and start it again.
Yeah, nice. I mean, this is getting into some pretty inspirational type moments where you probably think back and you're like, that was a big decision, and now you can see where you are now. Like, So just to be clear on that, does that mean you're not pursuing any kind of headset type experience?
No, we are. So there's a few opportunities that we've got. I don't want to say too much, but some high level racing boat simulators. Okay, which is in the works, which will be really exciting if that comes off. Good team to work with there. I still harbour, like, we've had Austech VR also had a lot of did a lot of work in the sports space. So we've got a sports DNA streak in us. And during 2019, I'd done a lot of work with a NEFL team up here, an AFL team. Not AFL, but an AFL team that play at the NEFL level, working with some of their players to improve goal kicking with VR, and also our local Rollers basketball team as well. Done a little bit of work with some of their players, and that was really, we saw some really good results. And when COVID hit, actually, we were speaking with the Wallabies about, because they couldn't get their players to train, about creating some training opportunities for them with VR as well. So I still harbour an itch to sort of get back into that sports training situation. I'm not sure if that will be VR or AR glasses, but I want to take that down, or even leveraging. And we were actually looking at leveraging AI and machine learning to sort of help us build out some solutions there as well. So I do want to get back into that side of things as also. So that's where the headset stuff sort of sits for me.
Yeah, very cool.
And I think the other side of it too is for event attraction, for working with the City of Gold Coast, for example, if we've got something that we need to show of the Gold Coast in VR to actually bring people here from the States, that's the other sort of use case that we can sort of see heading up initially.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I wanted to help people just look at the timeline of things, where they might have remembered the time when the cardboard headsets was like, it was a sort of a price point thing, and if not free, very, very low price point for a consumer to experience. And then you got into these specialty companies. So Oculus would have been early. Then they got bought out by Facebook, and then lots of other players. All a combination of hardware and software, I believe. But is there a certain timeline that you'd kind of say, oh yeah, here's how it all went? It was cardboard headsets, and then, am I right? It was sort of Oculus was the big name that got bought. Yeah, so
Oculus and Vive at the same time, they were working pretty hard, hand in hand. And I think the big game changer for VR has not necessarily, obviously Oculus coming out and the Vive as well. The Vive was probably the better headset, I think, than the Oculus Rift. But the big game changer has been the Oculus Quest. So this is an amazing headset. You've got the Oculus Quest 2 out now. It's worth, I think, $400-500 Australian dollars. And, it's completely standalone, so you don't need a computer. You don't need to buy a $2,000 computer. It's 6 degrees of freedom, so that means you can walk around in VR and do anything you want. And it's amazing. It's just like the applications have been made for that, and the sort of things that you can do with that is going to push the industry forward a lot, I think. So I think the biggest shift has been the Oculus Quest coming out. HTC had the VR Focus come out, and I don't think that was as good. But yeah, the Oculus Quest I think is huge for the VR industry.
And then assuming that's still fully owned by Facebook, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And they're probably tying into that strategy for all sorts of,
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the only downside to it is it's Facebook. But what can you do?
Yeah, well,
we'll see what else comes out. I mean, the tech's out there now, so we'll just see who wins in that ecosystem more. But at the moment, Facebook's got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. And is that, I'm not familiar with that. Could I go and buy that at a shop today here?
Yeah. So the way they work now is, so you'd either go to Amazon or Oculus.com.
Okay.
You wouldn't even buy it from a store here, really.
So it's not really supported through like a traditional retail network?
No, a lot of the tech companies that come out of China have moved away from the middleman. So a lot of them ship directly from Shenzhen, or Hong Kong. So you'll buy it, and it will come out in 2 days. Or they just have it sitting here in an AWS. Superstore where you buy it and 2 days later you've got it in your hand. That's the way you buy it.
Yeah.
You don't need necessarily go to a VR store anymore or anything like that. Yeah. And that's the other reason we went away from selling headsets and cameras and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Look, I mean, it's a space to watch, and I imagine the expertise in your business. You mentioned your team. I'd imagine a lot of it would be software based and trying to. I mean, we're talking about modeling and rendering.
Yeah, we've got a fantastic team. So we've got Will Hazelton, who's our lead 3D modeler. He's just a wizard. He's amazing. What he can build is crazy. So we built Metricon Stadium from photographs. So it's just ridiculous, the sort of stuff that guy can pull out. And he's always leveling up and getting better. We've got Corey Schmidt as well, who's come on, and, he's amazing as well. For example, we just built a jetty this morning or yesterday like that. And, for a proof of concept for a client where we can sort of place a jetty down on the water. So they can decide, look, that looks really good in my house, in my backyard, and let's buy that. I can see what it looks like. I think then we'll get that jetty. Or no, we might get that jetty because it looks better or fits better with our yard. So these guys are producing some amazing models, all made here on the Gold Coast, which is cool. We utilize a platform called Blender to build our models. Away from the Autodesk type of situation where you're paying thousands of dollars a year for a license. Blender's free. And it's really, really good. So the modelling side is quite important because although we put everything together with programming on the back end, it has to look really good. So that's important. And we've also got the challenge with AR where the more realistic you make something look, the more triangles it's got, but we can only have so many polygons or triangles within a model before the phone starts falling over. So, for example, if you're looking at a Metricon experience, it's got a lot of triangles, and it can make the phone a little bit laggy after a while because there's so much going on in that. So, look, there's always a challenge of, hey, we can build something that looks really nice, but let's pull it back now.
Very cool.
Take the triangles out of it just to keep that weight and processing power down. And then on the other side of it, we've got the development. We use JavaScript to put everything together. All the experiences live within a single-page website. And the way that works is that we utilize AWS, Amazon Web Services, to host our experiences in S3 buckets, and then just push that out. Sorry, getting a bit technical here, but push that out through CloudFront. Sure. And certificates and your domain names and stuff like that. So it's all hosted within the cloud on AWS, and that ensures that it's really, really quick.
Is it just on that website integration piece? Is almost like an embed? It's like you'd embed a YouTube video or that kind of thing.
No, it's actually its own website. So it runs off an index.html. So it's every experience that we make is is just an independent website.
Yeah, nice.
With a structure behind it and code and models and everything else sitting within it.
Okay. You mentioned a bit of the talent involved in producing this and the graphic. In terms of career path and how you go about recruiting or nurturing the talent, is there people, like, how are people learning about Blender? Is it a self-taught or is it coming through like graphic schools?
Well, so I think one of our guys, Corey, come through the University of Canberra, which worked through the Coomera TAFE, and we found out about Corey by the Coomera TAFE saying, hey, we've got this kid that this guy, not a kid, who wants to who needs to do some workplace learning to finish off his degree. So we took him on for 17 weeks, and that gave him 2 subjects covered: marketing and 3D modeling. And he never really touched Blender before, so he's cut his teeth for that 17 weeks. And after that period we finished at the end of last year, we said, well, hey, you're really good. Let's come on and work for us. So, but what we're finding is Blender isn't being taught much at unis and at TAFEs and stuff. So it just comes down to like Will, he models in Blender 24/7. So when he's at home, he'll model other stuff. Just that's what he does. He loves modeling. So I think you find with a lot of really good creative people, it's what they love doing, and they're really, I hate the word passionate, but they're obsessed by what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And that's what it comes down to. It just comes down to reps and how much they work within it. So it's a funny one. But it's always difficult to sort of figure out where your next model is coming from.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's a lot of the listeners to the podcast might have a bit of a tech background, and they might be experienced with gaming or maybe looking at career paths in that space. And, obviously game design, there's a lot of people that have an interest in it, but I think it might be very difficult if I'm not mistaken, but like it's a commitment to it for sure. Yeah,
well, that's it. You have to do a lot of work, to get up to the level. And then a lot of people coming out of degrees and stuff think, it's all about the games, it's all about the games. But I think the business is a bigger opportunity. So you might be making gloves one day, shoes the next, a pool the next day. You may be making a stadium the couple of weeks after that, or a virtual space. It doesn't, you've got a whole mix of stuff, but it's all not necessarily boring, but it's different. They're making monsters and dragons and swords and stuff like that. So a lot of people have that in their mind, that when you're 3D modeling, it's all about games, but not necessarily. I think the bigger opportunity for 3D modeling is for business and business use.
Okay.
Which is where we are.
Yeah. I mean, and in your space, is it the type of thing that you could expand? I'm interested in maybe the next, obviously you've got, it sounds like a full deck at the moment, but could you support international clients in the same way?
Yeah, 100%. So we're really interested in, we work closely with the City of Gold Coast. We're supported by them, and they offer, and we're a part of their sports business cohort. And for example, at the moment we're discussing opportunities around the Birmingham Commonwealth Games, because we've just come off our Commonwealth Games here. So we're, the City of Gold Coast is involved in that. So fingers crossed everything will go okay with COVID over in the UK. We hope it will. And that Commonwealth Games will kick off, and potentially there'll be some opportunities over there for us. And also we're looking at going over to the US once that opens up again as well. I'd imagine it'll be next year we can go over to the US, and with RDK Sports, who have a tour over there, a sports business tour. We'll be on the next one of them, and we'll meet with a bunch of businesses, sports businesses over there, college teams, NFL teams, MLB, all that sort of stuff, for some opportunities to help them offer some real value to their sponsors and their fans.
Yeah.
Around that fan engagement, sponsor engagement type of situation.
just on the sports, you mentioned you're a bit of a sports fan. So are you an AFL fan? And
Yeah, I go for the Gold Coast Suns. Unfortunately, we're not doing too well. Actually, one of my team members, he used to work for the Suns. He now works for us. So he got laid off in COVID last year. So, and we're lucky there. It's a pretty small world how everything sort of comes together here.
Neat.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other sports?
Yeah, I love the NBA. I love the NFL. I like soccer. I like most sports. Union, obviously. Watch a little bit of league. So, yeah, no, I like sport.
Very cool.
There's not enough time of the day, but...
Well, yeah, that was what I was kind of just curious about. Obviously, this is... With something like this, I can imagine you just being... there's so many different areas that you could kind of push into and then you just got to manage priorities and so on. Is it how's the balance these days? Like, you just rebranded, that was a big exercise.
Yeah, so it all comes down to people. So it's not about the tech, it's about connecting with people. So if we sit there and talk about ideas around the table with our team, like we did this on Monday, and some people were going down the road of, we can do this, and we're like, well, no, that's not about connecting people with people. So if it's anything to do with connecting people with businesses, people with teams, people with sponsors, communities, tribes, whatever it is, if it's got something to do with connection, that's where we are. So that's sort of where we've drawn the line. And you can sort of see that, potentially down the road, it's not just going to be AR or VR. It can be a lot of other technologies, even combinations of 3D video with 2D video, which seems to be getting a little bit of traction for us as well. Just playing around with different tech stacks and the way you put it together, I think is really exciting for us. We've got a bit of a roadmap as well where we're looking at, sort of what do I want written here? So the AR glasses, obviously, we're going to be ready to go with the AR glasses once they get released. I think there's a really big opportunity there in the future. Think about having an Apple iPhone, for example, and you've got a pair of glasses. I'm a Samsung person, but I'll have to go to Apple, I think, unfortunately for me, but I want them glasses.
So these are the Ray-Bans, right? They're going with the Ray-Ban, I think.
Yeah. So they're going to look really nice. I hope they're going to be what I hope they're going to be. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities there for, connecting brands with people, even fun stuff like, running with them and having an avatar, leading ahead, and you sort of follow your best time, for example, or, lots of opportunities there. And I don't think we've even really, we don't know how big this is going to be. I think it's going to be huge. We're also really interested in artificial intelligence and machine learning as well. Not only within the, combining that with augmented reality and the glasses, but also, the computer vision. For example, something I've done in the past is get game geometry. So follow players around the field, follow the ball around the field, and figure out the positions of everyone in that game. So it could be a game of soccer. AFL is really hard because it's such a big field, but say a game of soccer or basketball, it's quite easy. And then you extrapolate the positions of the players out into a JSON file, for example, and then create a VR experience where you can sort of see what that person was seeing, any player at a given time was seeing within the game, and then have that as a coaching tool. So there's little options there with the AI machine learning on the back end, in addition to augmented reality. Another big opportunity there is wayfinding with AR.
What's wayfinding?
Wayfinding. So Google Maps has already got it, where if you're walking around the city and you say, look, I want to go to Albert Street instead of Elizabeth Street, you hold your phone up and you walk along and it will say, it puts some arrows and point that way. So, for example, if you're at a major sporting event, you've got a merchandise area in the middle. The event organisers might want to take you through that area to get to another point. So you might say, look, I want to go from this point to that point in this precinct. And then the wayfinding could sort of lead you through, the merchandising area and the food area, which increases sales, increases the fan experience, and keeps everyone happy. So look, there's a lot of opportunity for that sort of stuff, even in stadiums. So you've got people that may not be regular attendees to Seabus Super Stadium or Metricon Stadium, and where's my seat? Where's the food? Where's the toilets? You can sort of open up an experience, and it will take you to that where you need to be. So I think that's a really big opportunity there as well.
Yeah, and it just woke me up to something that was a big change, which is all the theme parks here.
And theme parks is another one.
We've just as an experience gone in there, and I thought, oh, look at this now. They've got an app, and I sort of discounted it and thought, oh, I don't need another app, thanks.
Yeah.
But then you quickly realize that everything's in there, and it's all proximity sensitive, so you don't get all the information until you're there.
Yeah.
Things like wait times, and it's all real time. So it wasn't augmented reality. Not yet, anyway.
But they use beacons and stuff.
Beacons, yeah. And it was just kind of like, oof, that really hit home. Like, this is super useful. And then it became not really about. You just worked it in to your, and that maybe is a neat little experience where technology just becomes transparent and becomes a little bit scary because it's sort of an extension of yourself and. Where's the digital and where's the when do you switch off and that kind of stuff. But
well, I guess we're a cyborg in a way anyway because we all operate with our phones. They make us infinitely smarter when we've got them in our hands.
That's it. So the classic Elon Musk episode.
That's exactly right.
On Joe Rogan. Yep. Don't miss that clip.
I love that. Yeah.
Just on that, did you watch the second?
Yes.
The second run around.
I listened to it. Yeah. It was good. It was quite amazing. He's talking about gravity and or making miniature suns on Mars to melt the ice. It's like Joe Rogan says, well, what? He goes, no, it's easy. I'm thinking, geez, it's just crazy. Some of the stuff he comes up with.
That's neat. Well, and that's like some big thinking, but this is just the times we're in, and I think it's kind of neat to be able to ride this wave. And what I was curious about is I guess in this world of creativity and innovation, there can be competition that crowds the space.
Yep.
Do you get a feel that people are quickly crowding into this space? And I'm almost thinking, like I know the marketing agency business and web agencies. They're always like going further and further out to try to expand their offering. Do you see people encroaching on this space?
Not yet. So that's a really interesting point, and that's sort of lends itself to our go-to-market. One of our go-to-market strategies in the marketing side is to become preferred partners of some of the bigger agencies because they don't want to be able to hire people and build a whole internal team out to build these experiences. We feel that we can offer something for them to provide their clients as a preferred partner in this sort of technology. And, and there'll be a few clients on each one of their books that want to utilize this and will get a lot of benefit out of it. So that's, we're sort of going it about the other way of, discussing that with some of the larger marketing agencies around the place to sort of work with them and provide that service for their clients, through them. So that's another way of moving.
I would 100% recommend that because honestly, sometimes people want to expand and they think they can master this domain, but honestly, just stick to your core.
Yeah,
it's good if you know the client and
it works both ways because then we can send because we make an experience. It needs to be marketed. We aren't marketers, as in we don't have a PR team and everything else. So we need to not every business is going to have that, so we can sort of move send people to them businesses as well to sort of get that help and get that reach for their experiences that they have. So it's a double-edged sword there. We help them, they help us, and we get some really cool experiences out there, and clients are happy.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
and it potentially is, you got to look at the velocity of it. The speed to market, and sometimes people are, I'd imagine there's a certain development cycle to get the idea briefed and then through to the execution. What does that timeline look like?
Yeah, so at the moment, we can get it done in 2 weeks, even a little bit less. And that's all about systemizing the process that we have. So we're working really hard on that to make it a lot easier. A lot of the development time is obviously, we've got 2 good developers, which I've mentioned. We've got Joel and Nick. And they do amazing stuff. So, and their main role is not just building the tech, but also developing the tech so that we can, leverage it faster and build it faster and turn it around a bit quicker. But then we've got the 3D modeling side, so we've still got model stuff, and that's where a lot of that customization comes in. Where if you want something modeled, particularly for your business, then we create that from scratch. Beautifully. So, but look, a brand AR experience, for example, it could be a week to 2 weeks. A booth AR the same.
Wow.
So it's reasonably fast.
That's fast, I would say.
Yeah, it is reasonably fast, but we want to get there faster.
Cool. I was just scanning through the different updates, like you mentioned, Apple glasses, and that's definitely on the forefront. And are we talking months away or years? Do we know when that's coming?
There's rumors.
Okay.
So the glasses could be this year, they could be next year. And Facebook, who knows? But they might drop something out too with they've always got their events.
Okay, so if we just go to the list of gadgets, Snap had their Snap glasses for a while.
Spectacles,
and they were sold through, I think, vending machines in the US.
Yeah.
I didn't actually see that firsthand, but had you tried on a pair?
No.
Okay.
No. They're a bit creepy though, walking around the video camera.
Well, there you
which
go.
is a bit funny. Yeah.
This goes back to the original Google Glass.
Yes.
We
sort of started all this off, I guess.
But wasn't socially accepted.
No.
Had that creepy factor.
Yes.
Then there's the HoloLens.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you have any thoughts. I don't know why, but I came up in my Gumtree search and someone was selling a HoloLens kit for $4,000. I thought, I don't even know if that's a good price or not. Maybe it's totally obsolete, but Microsoft HoloLens at the time seemed like it had a pretty cool demo.
Yep.
But I'm not sure if that ever eventuated or whatever. Have you seen the?
Yeah, I've used the HoloLens. It's really cool. The thing with the HoloLens though is that I think it's the best technology at the moment with the glasses. They were battling Magic Leap, who've seen they fell over. Magic Leap had, I think it was $4 billion worth of funding, and they just crashed.
Oh, interesting. I did follow that. I was so onto. I'm like, oh, Magic Leap, and then so much hype, and then
it was all hype.
Investor. So it just burst the whole.
Yeah, it burst. Like even the founder left, and a lot of the people working there unfortunately left, and I think they're trying to rejig it and move towards corporate, which is where the HoloLens is. They're corporate, and they've got a big military deal as well with the US military.
Right.
HoloLens is a really cool device. Magic Leap, sort of fell apart a little bit. I'm not sure what's going to happen with them, but after their launch, I think it sort of was a little bit apparent that it wasn't quite there because everyone, I don't know if everyone remembers listening to this, but you would remember the whale.
The Twitter fail whale?
The whale, there's a whale that would sort of come out of a college gym and then all the water splashed all over everyone, and that was meant to be what Magic Leap was, and it ended up being anything but that.
Okay.
So that was like CGI.
CGI.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah. But look, the HoloLens is amazing. You can do so much with it. It's going to keep on evolving. So the latest HoloLens 2, you've still got a small field of view. So you've got these little rectangular things that sit in your glasses, and as you move around, you don't have that field of vision yet. But there's a lot of good stuff you can do with them, and I think I sort of hope that's where the AR glasses will go. I'm not sure if it will be Apple and Facebook will do something like that, or the HoloLens will keep on building its way out and get cheaper as it goes. I think it's like $3,000 or something for a HoloLens.
So the whole idea, there's these technology developers, but are they generally open platforms? Are they development friendly where you could actually participate in that, or do you find that the trend is that no, we're just going to have Facebook apps developed by Facebook and that they're going to monetize it?
Yeah, no, they've got their developer ecosystems, and you can do that. For example, I'm not really sure of the HoloLens because we haven't done it. Like you can use Unity to build HoloLens applications.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what the approval process is about getting them on, but the Oculus Quest, again, you use Unity to do that. Unreal Engine potentially as well. I don't know why you'd use that for for a VR experience, but Unity is big on that. And you used to have to go through a rigorous process of getting applications approved for the Oculus Quest, but now there's a side loading option you've got, so you don't necessarily need to go through that rigorous process. And Facebook do have a really good developer community and stuff like that as well, so they are quite pro developers.
I imagine they pretty much need it these days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
you need content, and that's all about the ecosystem.
Yeah, and the smart ones, I think if you go back in time, whether it's video games or all those communities, they thrive off of the development.
And where the eyeballs are, that's where you need to be. Literally for VR, that's where the eyeballs are. Is with Oculus Quest and Facebook. So
nice. Just on the consumer experience again, relating to what I had seen through your website and through some of your demos, I realized that it's through the browser. Yeah.
Yes.
But there's something else that seemed there was a YouTube clip of something. It seemed to be part of a LinkedIn feed or where there was some enhancement, and I thought that's unusual.
Yeah.
Is that something you can talk about, or is it? Did I catch that right?
Yeah, I'll show you.
And just for people listening in, I will make sure to get you those links so that you can have a little look for yourself. But we'll bring it up.
So we made one. So I'll show you. Here we go. I'll show you this one here. Here we go. So what we've got here is we've got a 3D object coming out over the top of a social post. So when you've got that in a feed in LinkedIn, for example, it's really engaging. It's really, really cool. So we tested this with a product that you can freely buy. You've got 300 templates, and the thing I tested was a ray and a shark circling around a post. I can't get a log on to LinkedIn here, but
that's all right.
I ended up with 10,000 views on that post, over 300 reactions, I think over 40 shares at the moment, and it's still going. So we just wanted to do that as a test to see if this was the way to go for engagement. And obviously off the reactions, I've only got 2,500 followers on LinkedIn or connections on LinkedIn, and to get that sort of level of engagement was crazy for me. So that told me that we're on the way. So what we did was then built out our own one, which was for body science, just to test. And as you can see, it's really effective. You imagine seeing that come up in your feed and you go, oh, okay, it looks like something's floating out of my phone. And, it's come over the top of the social thing. Oh, wow. Okay. So it actually stops you scrolling. It's really a thumb stopper.
100%.
So that's just mixing, using Premiere Pro, a couple of tricks with 3D modeling, and blending them together, and
beautiful,
and having a bit of fun. So that's really engaging, and it comes into our methodology of, hey, if it helps people connect, then we're going to do it.
Well, I think that, for people listening in that are running a business or heading in a certain direction with regards to just starting something, these are pretty useful. And I just find it motivating, because if you've got a product that you want to get out there and you just feel like, well, it's a bit like, well, I've got my website and I've got my Facebook posts, and it can feel a bit static, a bit stale. Something like that, it might give you that extra boost of like, all right, let's get the creativity going, and it just allows you to be more creative. I can imagine. Yeah,
and I think people think more of the business too. If you are being creative, they go, "Oh wow, look, these guys are really pushing it. Let's have a look a bit more, or let's follow them. Let's see what So then you're getting, you're starting that customer journey off in the right way, and that sort of experience there that you just saw wasn't, that's not going to break the bank either. So they're really effective little experiences, and we're going to continue using them, particularly for places like LinkedIn, which is your organic reach is really good. I think though some people just go, oh, that's really good, we'll share that. What it ends up being, that's an MP4. It doesn't look like an MP4, but it is. I think we can just share that without any context, but you have to have the context around the video you're sharing. I think if you put that in, that's why we got so much reach on our LinkedIn tests. It was just crazy. But then you see other people sharing similar things with no context at all, and there's no reaction. So people have to have a context around why you're doing what you're doing. So that's where you come in with your messaging, and then the creative off the back of that to sort of boost it. So that's a bit of a mistake I think people make. They think, oh, look, we've got this cool thing, let's just share it. It doesn't work. You have to have the context of your business around it as well.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'll just say again, if having worked for a company that's managed brands and doing this kind of thing, that is highly attractive. So I can imagine the demand is there. And then it's just a question of, I guess, putting it to use. And like you said, just so it doesn't fall flat.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't well thought out.
Exactly. Yeah. So you got to promote it properly.
That's one. That's neat.
Yeah. And it goes on the back of other things like, I haven't mentioned, but we're doing a bit of 3D rendering work as well, where we're actually creating spaces before they're made. A little bit, I touched on it before, how architecture firms do that a bit. It's not even on our website yet, but we've actually got a few clients that we're working with at the moment to render. So to render future future fit out some businesses to sort of, for their proposals to sort of get a space. And we're finding that's, the speed to, from starting to having something for those businesses is really, really quick. And I can give you a bit of an example of that here. Talking about quick wins.
I saw on your website there was a sort of a real estate, somewhere there was a real estate type showcase as well.
Yeah, so we've done an AR real estate experience for Lynn Hughes Properties. She's a really good real estate agent here on the Gold Coast, and what we do is with some of our properties we create AR experiences which can take people into. Here's a rendering. So this is an example of a 3D rendering. This is Metricon Stadium here on the Gold Coast. We built this whole thing. As you can see, it's amazing. You can take people into some really cool places. And this is something we're finding we're getting a lot of traction on at the moment is, the 3D rendering side of the business, which a lot of people can utilize. They can be either, property developers, people building marinas, fitting out new gyms, et cetera, et cetera. So this is or even building a new stadium like this, for example. So this is somewhere where we're actually seeing some real benefits. And then on the AR stuff for real estate, we're finding that if you can have a QR code on a real estate sign at the front of a house, and they scan that, and all of a sudden up comes a bunch of buttons and the 3D floor plans which you can click on, and then they come out in 3D, and you can actually have a look at the floor plans in 3D of the house. We like this house. How do we get hold of the agent? There's a button there to click the phone, so that will open up the phone straight away, and you can dial in and speak to her immediately, or you can actually click on the maps if you hit it via socials and know exactly where that house is, how to get there, all that sort of stuff. So again, that's focusing on the call to actions. What calls to actions does Lynn as a real estate agent want you to take around this house? So that just comes down to brand AR again, and the opportunities there are endless.
Very cool.
With that sort of thing.
Look, I mean, it's been a really great deep dive to showcase some of the stuff, and I think if people are listening in, definitely check out the YouTube channel for this one, because you can actually get a real experience of what it looks like, and perhaps even go to the website yourself to see some of this technology in action. Just a question for you, Ken, from the hobbyist point of view, this is quite a professional level of a solution that you've built and offering. Is there like a sort of a hobby, whether it's a free software or something that people can dabble in if they want to try it themselves?
I'd probably just go to Eighth Wall. So Eighth Wall is a technology that we utilize to land stuff in the real world. So Eighth Wall helps us figure out if we want to land a jetty on the water, where the water is. So it actually sits on the real world, and we call that SLAM. So it's all about location, and it becomes aware of what's in that real world. Or we want to land, say, an experience on an image, for example. It will see that. So you can sign up to Eighth Wall. It won't cost you anything, and they've got some demo experiences up there which you can play with. Just have a crack. It won't cost you anything at all. When you start moving on, though, it will cost you a bit of money.
Yeah, nice.
But that's a good way to get started, and they've got all the code and everything up there ready to go.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I know that one of our team members was actually just curious about how to get some experience, and I think we loaded up a simple Microsoft something for the Windows Store, and it was just sort of like you can build the walls and put some furniture, and it's a bit of that virtual starting point, and you can create fly-in tours and stuff.
The other way is Unity. Download Unity, and start playing with that, and go through some go to the University of YouTube and have a look at some demos and tutorials there on how to put together some nice little VR experiences. So there's a few ways of doing it for free, and I'd definitely say Unity for VR and having a look at Eighth Wall for AR. Yeah,
excellent. All right, well, we definitely have covered a few things there today. And thanks very much for taking us through some of the product stuff and just thinking about next steps. And we like to get a feel for of the Aussie ambitions, yourself being Australian, born and raised.
Yes. 100%.
Queensland all the time, or?
No. My dad was in the RAF, so I moved around a lot. Victoria, Northern Territory, Queensland. So, but lived here since 1996. Yeah.
Right.
So I've been here for a while in Southeast Queensland.
But and then obviously based the company here.
Yep.
And I imagine for the longer term.
We'll always be a Gold Coast company. We think the Gold Coast is probably the best place to do business from in the world. Definitely Australia. We've got a very supportive city council who are proactive for business. So we're really, really happy with that. And on top of that, like the community that we're a part of here. So we've got some great businesses that not only work together but also have become mentors and great friends as well. And these are really good businesses. So the communities that we've actually built ourselves here, along with others, has been fantastic. So, I think there's a really good feeling around the Gold Coast, particularly to do for business as well. So, mate, I wouldn't go anywhere else, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's I would have to say the same. Is that the feeling here about I guess there's a bit of camaraderie or people helping others. I mean, people know that it takes a bit of work to get a concept going, and so I do feel like versus maybe a larger city where it's sort of you feel a competition early on. Yeah. Whereas here it feels a little bit more collaborative, and people are saying, "Oh, look, he's doing that, and she's doing this, and why don't you talk to that person?"
Exactly, and that's how it is. Yeah, it's really good. It's an amazing place to do business, and everyone's really out to help each other at the moment. So, particularly on the back end of what's happened the last year, I think everyone's a little bit more that way as well. So, it's fantastic. And as I said, the local government's been really good as well. So, we're so fortunate.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that's a good model. I mean, obviously, everyone in different parts of the world will have different scenarios, and it's difficult times still. But just have a think about your local communities and how to seek out people that are, and to operate in new ways. Like you've had to pivot and make some hard calls, but then once you're into it, it starts to feel right, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest piece of advice I've got is, there's two things. Is your team. Like, you can't do everything yourself. You need to get people that are smarter than you to come in and do what they do really best, do really well. We've got that. We've got some really good people working for us. Not only are they great at what they do, but they're good people. And then on top of that, it's leaning into your community. You have to lean into, the people that and you work with and you trust. So I think that's the two big things is leaning into your community and building the right team and having the good people around you. And that's it. I think you do that, you're on the way to success.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Ken, look, we'll definitely follow everything you're doing. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Give us a little, I feel like it's an early marker, a little early preview of lots of big things to come.
Yeah.
If you want to just give a quick mention on how to follow some of your things.
Yep. So austechconnect.com.au is our site. We will be changing that site again soon. So that's part one of our rebranding. So austechconnect.com.au. And we're on socials, so we're pretty busy on LinkedIn, myself included. So look for Ken Lee, LEE, Austech Connect as well on LinkedIn, Austech Connect on Facebook, and Austech Connect on Instagram.
Excellent. All right. We'll definitely get all those links posted so everyone can click through nice and easily. And don't forget to subscribe to that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's always a tricky one. No one's
YouTube, yes.
Everyone's watching, no one's subscribing. So guys, that's a prompt for please get on there and just give us a quick subscribe to Ken's channel as well as
Austech VR still on YouTube. I'll have to fix that one up. Hopefully Austech Connect soon.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
But
good. All right, we'll wrap up there, Ken. Thank you very much. And we'll keep in touch and talk again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.